You are listening to the Unleashed and Aligned podcast, where we strip away the noise, unleash our truth, and align with our highest self. I'm your host, Felicia Dom, certified life coach, Reiki practitioner, and chakra guide, here to help women find deep love and interconnection within themselves. This podcast is here to increase awareness, inspire your journey, and educate you as you reclaim your energy and rise fully into who you are. Check the show notes for links to my healing circle, coaching, and more ways to work with me. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to Unleashed and Aligned podcast. I am here with Jen Blanford, and she is a social media manager and mom of 4. She helps business owners get more exposure and make more connections on social media. Welcome, Jen. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Felicia.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in your business.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I'm a social media manager, and that can mean a ton of things. Initially, my standard packages include like a combination of content creation and engagement for the business owners who either want somebody to completely take over their social media or just do some of their social media. But I do a wide variety of things. I've helped business owners with reels, things of that nature. And more recently, I've been called to offer a done with you offer where I help business owners with a personalized social media plan and provide some one-to-one support while they're starting to implement that plan. Because something that I realized recently is that so much of the expert social media advice out there can be really overwhelming. And I think a lot of business owners try to follow it and they burn out or they end up being inconsistent and it just doesn't work for their life because everybody has something different going on. Although there are 24 hours in a day, not everyone's 24 hours are the same.
Yeah, and I love that because I agree with when I first started, and I'm better at it now, but when I first started, I was like, what do I need to know? And then I would get into a program or something that was just very overwhelming, and I was just constantly consuming, but I wasn't really implementing. And then when I would go to implement, I'd be like, okay, wait, how do I exactly do this? So I love that you've noticed that because I do think that is something that a lot of us struggle with. Have you done this previously in a job, or do you have just years of experience with your own social media stuff, or how'd you get into that?
It was a combination of two things. Prior to doing this, I spent over a decade working with a healthcare nonprofit. I mainly helped manage their online communities. And so I really enjoyed, but also just developed skills for helping to engage people online and even doing a little bit of online content and that sort of thing. And it naturally evolved into social media because on the personal side, I was really into using Facebook to stay connected with friends and family so they lent themselves to one another. And then I picked up Instagram along the way and a few other platforms as well.
Awesome. So I'm going to dive into some questions here. And the first one is, when did you realize you were playing small or holding yourself back?
So I think this also goes back to why I started my business. For years, my husband always said, oh, you should start a business, start a business. And I don't know, it didn't appeal to me or it seemed overwhelming or daunting or I just didn't have an idea for it, whatever, right? But then with the job that I had mentioned towards the end, what used to be a super flexible job where I generally showed up standard hours if I had something going on or if my employer wanted me to be available at a different time, I could flex my hours. And towards the end, they got really very strict with the hours that they wanted me to work, even though I personally don't think there was a need for that. And they also got strict with trading shifts with coworkers. And it got to the point where I was missing two of my daughters, my middle two kids. They both played lacrosse. And when they were younger, they played year round and it was missing some of their tournaments. And then it was also really difficult to make appointments for my son who has special needs. Like at the time I was trying to get him into speech therapy. And I just realized I'm like, finally I said enough is enough when it got to the point where I went for, I want to say it was like a yearly review meeting or something. We were discussing the whole schedule thing. And I got the comment, what would you do if you were a nurse? And I'm thinking, I'd trade shifts with somebody or they'd go short staffed. This is the real world, right? This is what happens. And I just realized it wasn't worth it and that it was time to start doing something different. And I said, okay, I'm going to start looking into this entrepreneurship thing and kind of figure out how to get started and what I want to do and where to go from there.
I like that. I think it was Caroline Mace that said, when you're in whatever you believe, this is just my belief, so take it or leave it, but when your guides come in to help you redirect, they'll give you signs. So maybe the signs would be like your husband being like, you should look into this. And maybe you're like, it's interesting, but no, I like my job, it's flexible. And then it's like they start adding things where you're not as comfortable where you're at to nudge you in the direction
Yeah.
that you're supposed to go. And so I feel like sometimes that can come into the form of not being as flexible on the job, missing really important moments with your children, or things that actually for your special needs child that you need to take care of. And those things are really important to you. If you didn't pivot, I think other things might happen that's very uncomfortable in our lives. And that's just how I feel. And I think that it's cool to hear people's stories of how those little things had dropped into their life. Oh, it was really comfortable. And then it started getting uncomfortable. And it's like trying to push you in a certain direction, or at least that's what I believe. So that's cool to hear you say that.
No, I definitely think life works that way for a lot of things.
What did you need to let go of in order to become more of who you are today?
I feel like this is always something that's evolving with me, but the younger version of me probably when even, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, maybe, when I would go to apply for a job or interview for a job or go to a networking group or whatever it was, I felt nervous, like I had to show up a certain way, and letting go of that. I would call it perfectionism because I've never considered myself a perfectionist, but letting go of that feeling that things needed to go a certain way, letting go of control. And then I think as I evolved with starting my own business, I think realizing that experts have a lot of really good information to offer, but you need to take that with a grain of salt and make it work for you. So letting go of that, oh, this is exactly how to do X, Y, Z. No, there's so many different paths to do
Like
whatever it is.
that black and white thinking. I can
Mhm.
relate to that. What advice would you give to somebody that is maybe in that stage of feeling really comfortable in their life, but maybe having a tinge of, should I do this? Or I feel there's always that, like in our life where we're very comfortable. We have maybe the flexible schedule, we have everything that's good, but we know that we could do more. And maybe this isn't how you feel or felt, but it sounds like maybe your husband felt like that of you. Oh, you're so much better than this, or you're so much great. You can do so much more. And I feel like that there is some of that inside of us, even when we're working for a company and we have the pay and the schedule and all the things, but there's still something inside of you that's, I could be either contributing more or I'm not using my full potential. What kind of advice would you give to somebody on that kind of journey where they're comfortable and they would have to be uncomfortable in order to do the thing, but there's something sparking inside of them that maybe is like nudging them towards that?
I feel like my answer is going to be multifaceted to this. So, like with me starting my own business, initially when my husband was suggesting that, I just had a couple of smaller part-time jobs, but I was home taking care of the kids. I was like, I don't have time for this. So, my advice from that perspective is to make sure you're not being pushed or pressured from somebody
Mm,
else. Sure, people can encourage and spark the idea in you, but don't do it just for that reason.
yeah.
And then I think the other thing is if you're interested, but like I know some people just dive in head first, but I tend to not be that kind of person. I like to do some research first. I think we were talking about this earlier. Like I just dip your toes into it, do some reading, join the Facebook group, do some reading. You don't even have to be that active in it. Just see what's out there and really absorb and think about it and take it a little bit at a time. If you are in that kind of in between place where you're somewhat happy where you are, but you're being called to do something else. I think it's good to kind of dip your toes in because maybe you'll find it isn't for you, or maybe you will gradually become more comfortable and all of a sudden be like, okay, now I'm ready to jump in and do this.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that you pointed out don't do it for somebody else because I think that is very important and I love that you covered that. And then that research portion, I think that's great even if you start going to like networking events, going to those entrepreneur events and speaking with people or finding people in that like niche that you are looking into, surrounding yourself with people that are doing that and seeing if you're vibing with it or not. I think that's really awesome. And then those baby steps, like you don't have to, unless you're somebody that likes to dive in, but you don't have to do that if you're still uncomfortable and you're trying to feel your way through it and make a decision. But Basically allowing yourself the time, however long it takes, to move through it, and that's okay too. Because I've been in a space where I felt I need to be at XYZ at this time, and I think that actually makes it worse for your progress than when you just, like, allow things to flow and give yourself that space to learn when you need to learn and navigate when you need to navigate, and you're exactly where you need to be right now for your highest growth, and that's okay.
I really
There.
agree with that. People like goals and days you want to hit the goals by. And I think just having a larger concept of that in your mind is, at least for some people, obviously people all operate differently, but people, sure, you have a exact kind of timeline, but I think just having the larger concept, working on it, knowing that between setbacks, like let's say we're talking about starting a business, between setbacks with the business or in life that make it more difficult to work on the business, it's important to just feel out where you are and decide what is the best course of action at that time.
Yeah, I love that. So when you're feeling a little like disconnected or maybe off, what do you do to realign that energy or to get out of lower vibration or stuck feeling energy?
So I've noticed when I feel stuck or I'm having more like where I'm feeling more anxious about stuff or agitated or just, yes, that kind of lower vibration is a good way to put it. Or just like to me, I'm like just kind of like icky or weird
Yeah.
or just that off place. When I feel that, usually I found, and this is really more of a new, in the last couple of years, discovery, or not discovery, but a new realization for me. When I feel that way, two things I need to do. One, I'm probably not taking enough time for myself. Like I'm pushing myself too much to do too many things. For example, right now with my son being in school, I try once he gets on the bus and I walk the dogs, I take half hour to an hour for myself just to do whatever. I don't dive right into work. And I try to do the same about a half hour to an hour before he comes home. Sometimes my schedule is such, or I'm just driven, or my to-do list is such that I don't do that. But I find too many days of not doing that, I'm irritated. So it's
Mhm.
taking time for myself, making sure I get that time in. And the second thing that I also find helpful that I did for a while a couple years ago, and I'm just getting back into it this year, is gratitude journaling. I feel like that kind of recenters me and focuses, like when you focus on the good,
Yeah.
there's more abundance to be had, right?
Yes. I love that you said you like acknowledge that your energy's off or that maybe you feel a little down or not in the best spirits when you don't take the time for yourself. Cause I think that's really important for us to acknowledge in everything, like foods we eat and if we miss exercising or whatever it is that is promoting really good vibes. And then when you're not doing it, you're like, wait, I actually love that in my routine. And you pay attention to what are the your beliefs and values around your schedule that you want to keep. And so by that, exercise makes me feel good, meditation makes me feel good. So I want to keep those in my schedule because those are really important to me. And yeah, I think that's really awesome that you acknowledge that and you're like, okay, I need to keep this in my schedule, whether it's every day or every other day, it needs to be in there multiple times, not just like once a week or something. Or maybe if that's what works for you, if you still feel good at the end of the day. We actually have a gratitude jar and we have a pen and notes in it. And so you can just take out a note and write a couple things and put it in there. But I used to do a journal and I think that's amazing. And I still sometimes when I'm in a funk, I'll go and I'll write a bunch of things. And what I've noticed is that I don't always have the time to sit down and write a bunch of things, but I love to do it when I'm walking. So when I'm walking, I don't take my phone and I have a little puppy, so I like to walk him. And so when I'm walking, I just, for one, I just love to be in the moment. So I'm like feeling the breeze on my skin, like the sun on my face, and sometimes closing my eyes depending on like where I'm walking and making sure I don't fall. But then saying, I always tell the universe, like, thank you for this beautiful day, because I think every day is beautiful. But I like thinking of other things like, I had such a great conversation today with Jen. Thank you so much. And just like those like things. So if you are pressed for time, I think that's awesome to incorporate it too into the like little activities that you do. Maybe you're in traffic or whatever. And it really does change, like you said, that what you're looking for, you get more of. And it really does help turn around that mood.
It does definitely. And I think for me, I try to do that the same every day because I don't necessarily journal every day, but I try to take note of the present moment, regardless of how it is, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it.
Mhm.
I think very purposefully noting the good things that does help turn that low vibration state or the moodiness or whatever around just enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you incorporate that. So, my last question is, what does being unleashed and aligned mean to you personally?
So I'm going to interpret unleashed my way because I don't
Yeah.
necessarily know that I would use that word per se to describe me, but I think the unleashed part, I think, is just not going with the norm of how things should be done in life, in business, relationships, whatever. Just breaking from the mold a little bit or breaking from the standard expectation. So that's what I would say the unleashed part means. Aligned, I think, trying to make sure that my actions or my thoughts, like what my plans, what I'm doing, goes along with things that are important to me. Starting my own business was because I wanted to be there for my family. I didn't want to be a workaholic and be exhausted. Doing my business my way because, again, having to do with that same thing, I didn't want to burn out. I know how that goes. And so just align, basically just doing things my way. So it does go along with Unleashed to an extent.
Yeah. So, is there anything else that you feel called to share, or maybe something that we didn't talk about that you really wanted to?
Just in general, I think, and this is something really that having a child with special needs has taught me, is to just give yourself grace. It's okay if you get upset. It's okay if things don't work out the way you want. Just go with the flow. And something along with that is focus on what you can control. It's so easy to get frustrated by things, but if you just take a look at what's going on, what can you control, what makes the most sense right now, whether it's life, business, whatever.
I'm definitely going to add everything where people can reach you into the show notes. And if you have anything upcoming or anything like that you want me to add into the show notes, we'll definitely put that there. It has been such a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much. I hope that we can have you back on one of my new categories that I have. And yeah, enjoy the time. I'm sure that there's a little bit of joy when the kids are in school and you have those couple minutes to yourself in the morning and before picking them up. So enjoy that as well.
Right. Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review so that we can connect with more people to develop our mind, body, and spirit.